Nathan, what is one of my favorite video game series of all time?
Zelda.
Legend of Zelda. Absolutely one of my all-time favorite series. Love every game save for the later GameCube, Wii era ones. In this series, Skyward Sword. Piece of shit. We are going to do everyone up till the end of the N64 era here on the show, and as you can see from the really old 8-bit graphics, what one is this one?
The original.
The original, The Legend of Zelda. So we are going to register our name to start with, so let's go with Link, as that is the character's name.
I was
just
going
pushed
to
the
go
wrong
SPG.
button, so let's go back to... we want to go SPG, let's go SPG. I mean, it never appears in the game anyway, so... Our name will be Spug. Select button... Spug. Select button games, Spug. So register. So without further ado, the original Legend of Zelda... Have you ever played the original Legend of Zelda?
This one, no.
Really? Well, this...
Link to the Past is the first one that I played.
Oh, this one's going to be a trip for you. So, world famous. It's dangerous to go alone. Take this. Creepy old man living in a cave gives you a sword.
With 2 floating fires.
You get the Master Sword right off the bat.
And you throw it.
Well, no, see, if you remember from Link to the Past, when you have the Master Sword, which took you a while in that game to get, at full life, you can actually project like a laser beam from the sword. So because I'm at full life, I can do that. And then if I get hit once, I won't be able to do that until my life is full again. And these are Octo Rocks. See, now that I'm hit?
Oh, yes.
So those were Octo Rocks, a famous Zelda-esque enemy.
This one is actually quite horrible looking.
You gotta remember that it was the first game of its kind to have a battery backup, so it was the first game to have a save. It pioneered the save system. No game before this, wrap your head around that because I know you're young, no game before this game had a save system. Like, how do you feel about that?
Castlevania didn't have a save?
Castlevania had no save. You were making that from beginning to end, or you were just not beating that game.
So you had to literally leave either the system on...
Leave your system running, or just flat out fucking not beat the game, or beat it in one sitting. That was your choices.
That would piss off. I wouldn't have even played them.
Well, you see, that we didn't...
video games.
We didn't know any better back then. This was literally all we had. We hadn't seen what the world could be, if you will. So, first game with a save system. It was one of the first RPGs. I don't think it was the first RPG, but it was one of the first RPGs. Well, first console game with a save system, I should probably say that. I mean, obviously computer games had saves. I completely forget where to go, by the way, so anyone at home that's raging out that I'm not going to the first temple...
And I can't help you because I've never played it. So.
I will find it. I know roughly where it is. It's around this lake area somewhere. So first game with a save system, one of the first RPGs. I think it might have been a pioneer in using items as well. Like you would, just like in Link to the Past, you get a boomerang and stuff like that. Here we go. This is the way to go. You get items other than just your standard sword. One of the first games with an economy, so you have money to buy items from a shop. It was a pioneer in a lot of ways. Uh-oh, we're about to die. This is not good. Yeah. So I found where we're going. Good news. Bad news, died.
So we start all over.
But, on that, so you continue save and retry. On the plus side, I know where we're going now, so we're going to get to go where we're going. If you think about it, in a lot of ways, yes, it does. It dated horribly. You can tell it's an old game. But knowing now what you know, now that I've told you, it was a pioneer of its day, and it really set the way for not only other Zelda games, but for every other game you've played in your life.
Yes, that is true.
I mean, as we play through, here's the way to the first level, by the way, that bridge leads there. As we play, I'm going to point out some things that it innovated in, that it did first, as you will.
Saves.
Saves being one of them. So here's level 1. I don't think this is the level where the map is a swastika, but there is one.
The map is a swastika.
The map of the dungeon is a swastika. I don't think it was intended to be like a German swastika, because a lot of, I think, Buddhists and a lot of other things
it was
as well.
The Germans flipped it. Pointing the other way?
Correct, yeah. But it's in there, and it's kind of anti-Semitic in a way. It certainly, in terms of Zelda getting back to doing its stuff for the first time, it certainly did a lot for the Zelda series for the first time, obviously, because it's the first of the Zelda games. But a lot of the tropes that it creates re-exist in all the other Zeldas. For example, we just saw skeletons. Skeletons, a big part of other Zelda games. These happy-go-lucky fucking, like, oh my god, I'm so scared! Oh, yeah.
Actually, that looks like Magikarp, and the ones on the right look like a Nidoran.
Okay, so Magikarp and Nidoran. Nidoran happy, Magikarp sad. Enemies take multiple hits depending on your sword power level. There are upgradable swords, which I do believe is also a first for this game. You get better swords as time go on.
Well, you already start with the Master Sword.
Well, you start with what is effectively now, in today's era, the Master Sword. They didn't know what a Master Sword was back then. You gotta remember that this is the first of its game, or of its kind, so, or the series? First of the series, there we go. So the words Master Sword hadn't even been uttered, and I don't think they get uttered, to be honest, until Link to the Past, maybe even. Might be the first time you hear the actual term.
Link to the Past is what, the third?
Third game released, yes. In the series, it's actually one of the first, I believe, in terms of the actual
Second, what came after this one?
Link's Awakening, no. Adventures of Link is after this one, in terms of our world. Here's a cryptic message. Eastmost Peninsula is the secret. Now, these old men, they give cryptic little hints. Never very useful. Anyway, the lore for Zelda, and I'm going to put a screenshot up now. Okay, so you see that map that's up there now with all the different branching timelines for Zelda? That map that you're looking at is the timeline of Zelda lore. And as you can see, and I don't have it up in front of me now, so I'm not going to comment on the exact order. Link to the Past, not the first, not the last. Or it might be the first, but the point is it's not the third like we remember it being. Because the timeline of Zelda is massively screwed up, because at some point, Ocarina of Time, I believe, is the first time, we get time travel in the series. And what the time travel does is it actually creates branching timelines. So there's a Link does defeat Ganon, Link doesn't defeat Ganon timeline. There's a Hero of the Past timeline. Anyway, the point is there's a bunch of different broken down timelines. And it really screws up the history of the series in terms of the chronological order. It makes sense from a fan's perspective only once you've read every single, like, you know, basically once you've read that chart that I put up on screen.
Which I haven't.
No, neither of us have. Well, I have in the past, but not currently. So the fans now know more than we do at this point. By the time episode 2 comes around, then we'll know that. We'll be up to the same speed as them. We will know who is first, second, and third in the timeline of Zelda. Bats, not too hard to deal with here. You saw me die earlier while we were talking. That's
water drops.
I always called them Hershey's Kisses. There's bigger Hershey's Kisses that split into those little ones too later. I forget if I have to go up this way. I think the weapon I need is up here. You saw me, as I was saying, die earlier. This game is actually pretty tricky, even if you know exactly where to go. Here's the Boomerang Bros. First introduction of the Boomerang into the Zelda series. And I believe this may be the only time you... No, you don't. Later in the game, you actually receive an item by killing the Boomerang dudes. And that's the only time, I think, in all of Zelda history that you receive an item not by opening a chest, but simply by killing people. So we dodge these bricks here, and then we go down here. Now this is a first for the NES. It switched perspective, as you can see. We went from that pseudo 3D perspective to a complete 2D side scroller. And of course, Link can't jump in any of the games actually, except for Link's Awakening, where he gets a feather that lets him jump. So you're
until you get to N64.
Well, you still can't jump. You can't choosably jump in that game. You can dodge jump with the sword. But you're never actually capable
Ocarina of Time, you can jump?
You cannot jump, no. You swing jump with the sword, which gives you some height. But you never actually functionally jump in the Zelda games. Except with the Octorok Feather in Link's Awakening. So anyway, we died again, but we did manage to We did manage to get the bow and arrow. We have no arrows currently, so I guess we got the bow, technically. So now we're done. We can go to the dungeon's evil, as it were.
And I have no idea where we're going, so...
See the map up in the top left?
Yeah, I see the map.
All you can get.
The red is where we're aiming for?
Red is, now that we have the compass, I should have explained that when we picked it up, but now that we have the compass, we are capable of knowing where the dungeon's endpoint is. The problem with that is that we need a key, and we don't currently have it. Which is always a problem with these Zelda games, unfortunately, is that you need to get keys that can be hidden anywhere in the level. There's no indication to where those keys are. I believe in this one you can buy them in the store, so you may not even be able to get them all inside of a level. Don't quote me on that. You might always be able to in the store. It just makes it easier.
It's possible.
But needless to say, we are in a position where we need to now go hunting for this key. Which is disappointing, because it's prolonging the episode a little bit.
It can be frustrating, but
Well, the fans
it's
are...
a good game, so...
Yeah.
Well, I don't even know if it's a good game.
It is a great game for what it is. You're going to really see some parts where it shines, and you're going to see some parts where it definitely is old. Let's put it that way.
Well, I already see the part where it's old.
Well, I mean, other than graphically, there's the key we needed. See, so by not killing everybody in that room the first time through, didn't get the key, had to come back. It's an exercise in memorization, which a lot of the old NES games were. The second one, which will take us a while to get to, but once we beat this one, we'll be on that one, is actually a side-scrolling action game. Completely different from this. It's like a 2D. It has an overworld map. It also pioneered in a lot of ways.
I'm still torn between Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time for whatever one is my favorite. I can't
I think it depends on the generation you grew up in. In my case, I can't not have Link to the Past be my favorite. There's the boomerang, so now we have our first item that we can actually use, because we don't have any arrows for the bow now. Now this room's interesting. You'll see these hands coming out of the wall. If those hands grab you, and I believe they're called Master Hand, they will return you to the beginning of the stage.
That can be annoying as well.
They are a piss-off. So here's our first boss, Johnny Zelda Unicornosaurus Dragon. He is, again, just one of those memorize the pattern, get out of his way kind of enemies, which a lot of the Zelda bosses end up being.
A lot of NES bosses, period.
It's true.
Seem to be that way.
It's true. And here is the world-famous Triforce, or so we think, but it's actually just a piece of the Triforce.
I was going to say it's only one color, so it's the Uniforce.
It is the Uniforce. It's actually, in this game, you are trying to build the Triforce of Wisdom? Don't quote me on that, but you have to build one of the Triforces. Whoops. I meant to push start, and instead I pushed down. So basically you are building this baby right here, the Triforce. You'll notice we have one piece. You need 8 pieces, you beat all 8 pieces, and you get to Ganon, defeat Ganon, move on to the next game, rinse, lather, repeat, rinse, rather, repeat, and so on and so forth. Not our funniest series, granted,
no.
But there'll be some jokes as time goes on.
Because there's no real talking. I mean, there's nothing that we can really make a joke out of.
Yeah, the series is going to get better as the games progressively get better. So I guess what I'm getting at here is that's the end of episode 1. Nathan, any final thoughts on what you've seen so far?
It's a lot different than the ones I've played before.
It is a lot different than the ones you've played before.
Much different.
Do you not see where what you've played came from this? Do you not see the groundwork?
But I must say, when you play the N64 ones, and then you go back to Link to the Past, it looks bad. Comparably. Yeah. But when you go from Link to the Past to this, Link to the Past looks like a fucking marvel.
Yeah, and you'll see the games progress as time goes on. Even the second one, like I say, is a lot more advanced than this one. But anyway, until we play level 2, see ya!